Notts County Talk, we are live for the final time in 2022 with episode 68 of the Pavis Perspective. As always, powered by Better Bytes Computers. Loads of discounts you've just seen on the screen. Mention us when you go in or give them a call and you'll have discounts on refurbished laptops or on things you need fixing. I hope everyone had a great Christmas. Boxing Day did deliver with the first half battering that then allowed Notts to really take their foot off the pedal and relax for the second half of the game. Even though we didn't score any more, it was a fantastic performance all round. Evening Ellie, evening Ian, Shane as well, evening Matt. Hope everyone's had a fantastic festive period. George,
Tom,
how you doing?
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Busy.
Happy with that Boxing Day?
Busy week. Yeah, it was a good result. Couple of things a few niggles for me that I kind of did talk a little bit about in the fan chat that I did with Holly. But obviously we had an issue with the microphone, which we have fixed. We've ordered some new tech, haven't we, Tom?
We have.
Yeah, and I put it on the tweet, and it's just that final ball. For me, probably one of the only niggles, other than maybe Cameron's celebration. That final ball has got to be better. It really are. We literally could have got double figures that game if our crossing was better. It just couldn't seem to beat the first man. It was really frustrating.
We spoke about it, didn't we, on the Pavis Perspective last week? That's it for me. It's the final piece for me. Final piece. Loads of you joining us. Evening, Len, Chris, Ian, Debbie, Daz, Derek. Thank you for joining us. And if you're listening back on Spotify, please do give us that 5-star review. That would really, really appreciate that. Now, we put a poll up today, George. Put a few up on Twitter. Do you want to let us know what the poll is on the video today?
The poll on the video is, who is your Notts player of 2022?
And what are the options?
We've got Ruben, Matty, Mike Palmer, Macaulay Langstaff, other.
Have you voted? Obviously, don't tell us yet. I've got my vote in.
Yeah, I've got my vote in as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Casper Sloth. I don't think he was 2022, was he?
There you go.
Still worthy of a mention, isn't it? Yeah, so that's an interesting one. I put quite a few tweets out on Twitter as well before this. Things along the lines of, "Oh, you're going to Oldham." We'll have a look at that soon. What was your best game this season? Who's been your best? What's your best moment been this season? And another question about Castro that we'll also get into. Derek said, "Rest in peace to Pele." Yeah, I found out about 35 minutes ago that it just come on. Got a notification that Pele had died, which is obviously really sad. One of, if not the greatest players ever. Obviously that's obviously just happened. If you weren't aware, which is obviously really sad news.
Yeah,
but I'd heard that he hadn't been well for a while.
Yes.
So I want to go back, George, to talk about the Oldham game. You've given your thoughts on everything. I did have a slight doubt in my mind, before the game. How would we react without Macaulay Langstaff, even on the bench? I did think to myself, this will be the first real test of that, and we blew them away. Absolutely blew them away. Your face there suggested you knew would be okay without him.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like Langstaff does get involved in the game. I think he's not just for goals. He contributes elsewhere too. He helps in the build up. He links up well in sort of the final third. But I do think Scott brings that little bit more for me. Not in terms of goal scoring, but like in terms of what he does for the team. Obviously scoring goals is like the main part of football, isn't it? If you don't score goals, you don't win anything, do you? But yeah, I think Scott, he just brings that little bit more for me. Gets his 2 goals. Unlucky not to get his hat trick, really. So I've got full confidence, and I think there's been games as well where he's not really scored, and I know he's done like some hard work in the game and made things happen, and he does attract players, doesn't he? Because there's a lot of headlines around him, so the obvious thing to do would be to put 1 or 2 men on him at all times. So it does open up spaces elsewhere, which obviously provides goals. So I know that is an argument, but I think we've got goals all over the pitch, and it's something that seems to get mentioned a lot. But in Chickson's, he's probably going to get double figures this season if he continues, at the rate he's at. And I tell you what, if he improved his crossing, which I'm sure he will, and they'll be working on it. He could have a ridiculous amount of assists at the end of the season.
He really, really could. The thing about Langstaff, he's at the point now where if he stood still on the edge of the box, he's doing something because people are going to stand with him. Like, that's what he brings. I know what you're saying though. Scott for me does a bit more in that build up, but I also don't want us to think, well, Langstaff wasn't in and we scored 4 goals in the first 43 minutes, and like Ian's just said, 15 different goal scorers. At the same time, I don't want us to think we would be okay without him, because there will be games where it's not 4 goals by half time and we won't have scored by the 70th minute, and then Langstaff would be the player in that position to get the winner. So at the same time, just because we did score 4, and we'll go on to this because someone's just put this in the chat, we did play Oldham, and as Chris has said, possibly the worst team he's ever seen visit Meadow Lane. I wouldn't go as far as worst team I've ever seen visit. I would definitely say they're the worst team this year by some stretch. Like Maidenhead were poor on the open day, and Maidstone were shocking. I know we conceded to Oldham. They were absolutely appalling.
Forest as well, pre-season, they came to Meadow Lane. They were shocking.
They were shocking. They had to get a free kick to help them out, didn't they? Free kick.
Not doing.
They're one of the worst teams I've ever seen at Meadow Lane.
Yeah, they're probably one of the worst teams the Premier League's ever seen as well. But that's another story for another day, innit? Let's stick to Notts.
Matt says Torquay were awful. Yeah, I agree. Were you surprised how bad Oldham were? Because I was shocked. I knew they were.
No,
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was, because you know what, they've got a couple of good players. Well, they've got quite a few good players, and their goal was worked so well. Like the ball that was sort of switched out was that like pretty much opened us up. It was fantastic. And I think when teams show like glimpses of being able to play like that, I think it is only a few little things where you've got to tweak here and there, and maybe a little bit of mentality. Well, it is a lot of mentality when you're that low in the league, I think. But there's only a few little things that I think have to change for Oldham for them to maybe start getting a few results.
Yeah, I mean, we clocked it, didn't we? Well, we clocked it after the game. It was John Rooney that came on for them. Not that long to go. Like, he's a decent player, but for me, the problems are so obvious for Oldham. You come to Meadow Lane, you're probably looking at the state Oldham are in to go away with a draw. Very lucky to nick at anything other than a draw at Meadow Lane, and you leave Scott unmarked 3 minutes in the box. It's awful. It's so poor. I mean, Ruben's goal, mix up between the keeper and defender, he slots it in. Cameron, what I've watched the highlights, he's pretty much unmarked at the back post. I know it's a decent finish because it's going wide, but he's completely unmarked. And then I think the fourth's just a really good goal, but again, Scott's unmarked. So I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't expect them to be that poor. Their fans obviously did. So, I mean, fair play for how many people came to watch, in that away end, but can't have been good after all. That all can't have been good. Ian said did not take it easy second half, so Oldham didn't sack us before the next game. Who knows? And obviously that won't be the reason, but you do think if we scored 3 or 4 more, that could have been the end of it. You can't go losing 7-8-1, and it could have been. It really could have been.
Yeah, we walked from like the Meadow Lane side of the ground where the Derek Pavis is behind the ground, didn't we? Like after we'd done our fan chats, and the Oldham coach was there, and there was a staff member. I don't know if you noticed, Tom. You sort of stood there talking to. It looked like an Oldham fan, and they just looked so down, and it's just terrible to see a club like that. Because to be fair, not too long ago that was sort of Notts, wasn't it? Everything's disjointed. I actually saw online that fans have been sort of direct messaging Oldham players and stuff like that, and they've been arguing back and forth, and it's never good, and there's that sort of divide between fans and players and managers and stuff like that. It's never good. It's not something that sort of resolves overnight, is it? So
is that the same thing? Is that the same message that I saw where one of the Oldham players replied? And the Oldham fan replied, "You've replied to me more times than you completed a pass at Meadow Lane." Was that the one?
Yeah.
I agree with Ian. If we get an early goal at their place, the crowd will be on their backs. I mean, I'm sure most people know football enough. Like, we've been football fans for well over 20 years. I think it looks like there's no return for David Unsworth. That you can't fix that. You never see a manager turn it around from this position. He's finished, I think. I mean, they got hammered. Their fans were chanting at him. Did you? I don't know if this is true. I saw it happen down because we were obviously sitting at the top of the Pavis. I saw someone being escorted out screaming at Unsworth. Apparently, an Oldham fan had booked the ticket in the Pavis somehow to shout abuse at Unsworth. Did you see that?
No, I actually did. I think someone tweeted a picture of it, didn't they? But
I did see him being taken out, and I thought, what's going on?
I didn't see that, but yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know, like it's difficult for me. I don't know. It's difficult to think how you'd sort of, I don't know what. I think that's just it's a bit too far, isn't it? Why would you do that?
Oh no, I'd never do that. But like, that's how toxic it's got. I mean,
but is that just fans taking it too far? Like, I understand they're in free fall and something has to happen, but let's be real, it's not the manager's fault.
Everyone needs a scapegoat.
Yeah, everyone needs a scapegoat, and from the outside looking in, it's not the manager's fault. I mean, you could probably have a different manager, maybe getting a few more results, but the reality is, it's if you've got ownership that's not running the club properly, essentially it's always going to sort of go in one direction, like sooner or later.
I'm looking at the results. Last 7 of the last 9. Their only win was against Torquay. Torquay obviously poor. I can't. I said what was it, a week ago when we did the Pavis perspective? I said I'd be very cautious to say we'll get 6 points from these 2 fixtures, just because this is how Boxing Day is a strange one because the preparation is not the same as a normal game. Players obviously would probably train, but going to go and see their families, and it's a little bit different. I would now be very disappointed if we didn't get 3 points on New Year's Day. From what I saw, I agree with the comment that was just there for me. And if we score early, it's done for me. It's really done. And that's not me being overconfident as a Notts fan, thinking we're amazing. That's me looking at Oldham from an outsider's point of view, seeing what their fans are obviously saying, because we don't watch Oldham every week, but looking at what their fans are saying, they're a mess. They are a mess. I think the frustration though from fans, George, because we had this first season. Yeah. I sat there on, what do we call it on the channel, Transfer Thursday. We were in an absolute mess. I think we'd just been taken over and we signed players, and I think I predicted Notts to get promoted. You do, when you come down, you do think this division is easy. Because as an Oldham fan, when have you ever had to look at teams, and no disrespect because they beat us, but when have you ever had to look at teams like Dorking, or when have you ever had to look for Maidstone? You think every game's easy.
Yeah, to be fair though, the first season we were like 90 minutes away from promotion.
Yeah, but could you imagine if we'd done what Oldham did? Our fans would be exactly the same.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. But I think sitting behind you, going to the extremes of doing that. I know it takes action. It does take action, because I think something needs to budge at Oldham. But I don't think sitting behind your manager in the home end at an away game just to shout abuse at him is going to help anything, is it? Like, what? You're not going to solve anything, are you? That you need to do something a bit more substantial than that. Whether it be, I don't know. I'm not going to say what they should do or anything like that, because there's plenty of examples of what they can do to maybe help. But it's horrible. It is horrible, and I can't. Yeah, it is true. Maybe I do underestimate a little bit how it must feel, because that season we came down, it felt awful. But then it's like you've just said, there's that sort of positive bounce when we get the new owners in, and there's a lot of positive things being said about them, and the company that they come from is football related, and we're going to use all these statistics to sign players, and it's all exciting. But to come down and then potentially be going down again, that's sour as it gets, isn't it?
It was over when their owner came out in his flat cap and basically said who are Dorking, and they lost to Dorking.
Yeah.
That was it.
He's done a couple of silly things like that, and he was mocking Man U. Do you remember that? Like, Man U lost or something. He came out laughing, and you're thinking, surely there's more pressing matters for you than to be laughing at Man U.
It doesn't work. It doesn't. Owners like that don't work.
No, you're absolutely right. We know
that.
We're in a position to say that as well, aren't we? Unfortunately.
Yeah, and I do feel for Oldham fans.
Yeah, I do as well.
Fans are watching. Yeah. I do feel for you, because I feel like if you haven't had a good run at this league, I feel like if we'd had a complete mid-table season, we'll be struggling. You have to stay at the top of your game in this league, otherwise you get sucked into it all. You get stuck here. So, do you think right now? Do you think they go down? I think they stay up and Scunthorpe go down. Even though we beat Scunthorpe 4-1 away, didn't we? It was 4. Yeah, because it was 3-1 at half time.
Yeah.
And of the we beat Oldham 4-1. I say Scunthorpe go down, Oldham stay up. But of the two sides we played and beat 4-1, Oldham were the worst. But I still think they'll stay up.
It's crazy, really, when you think about it. Oldham possibly being a National League North side. Absolutely mental.
Massive
they've been in the Premier League.
In there. Yeah. Biggest side to be in National League North? I don't know the history of the National League North or South, but can anyone name as a bigger side that will drop down to that level?
Dorking.
There you go. Surely. Yeah. There we go. Right, let's have a look at some of the polls I put on because we need to look ahead to this is a weird one because it's the only time we'll look back at a game we've played, but also looking ahead. Yeah, Stockport, M4 says Stockport, pretty big side to be down there. Yeah, so we've kind of already previewed Oldham by looking back at Oldham. So it's one of the only times that will happen, but we will talk a little bit more about it shortly. So I'm going to have a look, George. Some questions ahead of tonight's show is what we tweeted. Are you travelling to Oldham on New Year's Day? 51 votes, 35% said yes, the rest said no. I think a lot will travel on the day.
Yeah.
I think that usually happens around the festive period. I will be going. You cannot make it.
No.
But, I think it'll be especially after the Boxing Day result. I think quite a few people will be there. Next question: is this the best style of football you've seen Notts play in your lifetime? 91% of voters said yes. Is it that? Well, for me, we're roughly the same age. I've never seen a better style of football of Notts play.
No,
I've seen effective football. I've never seen a better style.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, in our lifetime, yeah.
91% of people agree. I'd like to know what the rough age of those people. Before we go on to the next one, I'm gonna put this up from Daz because I think this is a real good shout. Cairo will go to Scunthorpe and keep them up. Maybe not the second part, but I think the first part, I could see him being loaned to Scunthorpe if we got someone else in. They've just lost their striker to Oldham. I think that's a good shout. I really do think that could happen. Just lost their striker. If we brought someone in,
it's so strange, the Cairo situation, isn't it? I remember
he cleared Burnley's shots back to the halfway line.
Remember when Birchnell said that he was the main transfer target. He's just sort of thinking, if we got one of those, if we uncovered a gem again, because Notts in previous years have had history of doing that. Look at Cal Roberts. That sort of list goes on, really, doesn't it? And you're thinking, if he's our main target, this guy must be amazing. And he's not really done anything for Notts, has he? He's had a couple of, I feel like, false starts where he scored 1 or 2 goals, and you're thinking, here we go, he's hit a bit of form, that. But I'm sure Chris has just said it. I think it was Chris in the comments where he's not going to get a run of games, is he? So he's never really going to. He has to take them chances when he's getting them, but he's only getting 10 minutes maximum here and there, isn't he? So it's not. I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to fall into main favour, is he? And then if something does happen, like an injury to Scott or Langstaff, I don't know if Williams will back him to sort of be the backup. I think we could see someone brought in. So, I mean, I think it makes sense for him to go out on loan because I think it becomes more about the player for me, because I don't really see what I don't know. I feel like we could maybe bring someone in that offers something a bit different, and then just let Cairo go out and play somewhere, because it's his career at the end of the day, isn't it?
Dale said Cairo turned down a loan to Gateshead because of location. If that's the case, I didn't know that. Gateshead have gone and got Danny Elliott, is it, from Boreham Wood?
Yeah, he's done well as
Is that
well.
right? Yeah, he scored 2. Matt says we should go for Connor Wickham out of contract in Jan if Google's right. Yeah, he was at Forest Green. I think he's done okay at Forest Green. I mean, as well as you can do at Forest Green. With them, where are they? Second, third from bottom. Imagine if this Langstaff injury had have been another month and a half, will be no matter whether we score from midfield or fullbacks, we can't be having Scott as the only striker you can rely on getting goals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to see him go out on loan if we've got somebody lined up. Then we had another question we put out on Twitter. What's been your key moment of the season? Luke Williams being appointed, Langstaff signing new Palmer contract. You won't be surprised, George. 92% of people said the key moment was Luke Williams.
Yeah.
Do you think if we hadn't have got Luke Williams, or say Birchnell hadn't have left, Langstaff would be on anywhere near as many goals?
No, I think it's hard to say, but I think what's fair to be said is, for me, look, it's easy to sort of criticize someone when they're gone. But I do feel, I mean, we're yet to sort of see it with Williams, aren't we? Like backs against the wall. But for me, when the back's against the wall with Birchnell, he didn't really have many answers, and he don't know if he could really deal with it. I mean, that's maybe a little bit harsh, who knows? But I just feel like Williams, he's just different. He's got that sort of bite about him, hasn't he? Where you sort of feel like he doesn't stand for any nonsense. If you're not training well enough, you're not in his in his mind to be put in the squad. It is different, and it's something that the players have said. Cameron says it. He says it time and time again that the mentality is different this season. Something special this season. Sort of things like that. All the things that I suppose fans want to hear. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's resounding. Williams' appointment, because
100%.
it is. I mean, Langstaff signs is on there as well. It's
and
massive,
that got what,
huge.
5% of votes for Langstaff signing.
Yeah, because Langstaff is. I mean, Langstaff can be there. He can be in these positions, and I'm sure he'd get a decent amount of goals under any manager given the time on the pitch. But you can't help but feel like Williams just sort of helps him on his way. He gets him in the right positions. He gets the players around him in the right positions, and he's also helping him improve his game. From not just scoring goals. So Luke Williams' appointment is a resounding one for me.
Yeah, next one was, what's been your favourite game so far this season? It's a shame we could only put sort of 3 on there. And 84% say Wrexham at home. Well, I'll go mine. I think for me, my favourite game was Wrexham at home.
Yeah.
This season.
I think we said that last week, didn't we? On last week's episode, yeah. Wrexham at home, without a doubt. Just that special feeling, those games where you sort of celebrate at the final whistle. You don't get many games like that early on in the season, do you?
Exactly.
But that was one of them. Yeah, special game.
Yeah, it was good. Next one was, what's been your goal of the season? Now, 53%, this was closer, 53% said Castro against York. 44% said Langstaff against Wrexham, so it's close. And the rest said Taylor against Maidenhead.
Good goal.
The first game of the season. That's a great goal.
Yeah.
What's been your goal of the season? Because Castro's was incredible, but it's so well executed, that Langstaff goal. It's so good. I think Langstaff for me against Wrexham. I've watched it more times than the Castro one.
Yeah, I mean, two completely different goals, aren't they? One is sort of a team effort and it's been worked on, and one is
against Wrexham as well in a massive game.
You say it like they're a big team, but Castro against York. You sort of got some individual brilliance where you're not expecting him to even shoot from there. Me and Tom were obviously both at that game, and we're sat directly behind it, and you're thinking there's not a chance. And then there was a bloke in front of me that actually said, "Oh, he's going to score this," and it went in. I could not believe it. And then the replay of it, it's whipping all over the place. Keeper's left standing in no man's land. Don't know what he's trying to save. Fantastic goal. I know I'm going to go Castro. I think Langstaff goal was very good. It's really well worked, and it was impressive to see us do that against an outfit like Wrexham. really sort of caught them sleeping, I think. But for sheer, talent and vision, I'm going to go Castro because, if a player like, let's say, you're obvious, like Mbappe or Ronaldo or Messi or someone like that scored that goal that he scored against York, it's going to be plastered online forever, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, it did get a lot of attention online, but if it's like a bigger player, it's getting a hell of a lot more.
100%. If you see me smiling there, it was because I read James's comment of Brindley against Oldham as his goal of the season, which I think it could have been heading in, or definitely should have been the keeper. There is one on there as well. Matt and Chris have said, and Dale said, Langstaff's second against Chesterfield, that quick turnaround. I'll tell you now, do you know when Langstaff scored like 2 in 5 minutes against Chesterfield or whatever it was? Maybe it was a bit longer than that. Yeah. And then late on, he had it blocked almost on the line to win it. If that had have gone in, I think the roof would have come off Meadow Lane.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would have been the loudest we've ever heard Meadow Lane, because I know that second goal was loud. Yeah, Chris says Chickson's top bins against Wheelstone. That was worked on as well, wouldn't it? And it was very unexpected. Yeah, that was a really, really good goal. There's been so many this season. There's probably been some in there where there's been about 20 passes that we've not even talked about it in this conversation. And the final one we put on Twitter, George, which got 93% said yes. Would you extend the loan of Castro? Would you? 8 for Janet runs out.
Yeah, I think so. I think he slots in really well, doesn't he? He's a good option. Yeah, I can't see why not. We're just sort of talking about one of his goals being goal of the season so far. He brings something different. I think he's a really good player to have off the bench, but he also, plays really well when he starts. Had a bit of a weird start, I think, at Notts, because he sort of has that goal against York, which was I think it was his first start, wasn't it, York?
And he was very good that game.
Yeah, and then after that, he sort of slowed down a lot, didn't he? And he wasn't really performing as well. We didn't see him for a little while, and then he's sort of come back in and he's done really well. So, yeah, I think so. I think extend the loan. I've seen a lot of people sort of saying if we should put in an offer for him. What do you think about that?
I would loan him first.
Try
and extend that loan first, and then see how he goes.
I don't think no disrespect to Castro. I don't think it's worth putting down a fee for someone like Castro, because we sort of have those options for me at the minute, without having to spend the money,
Yeah, Matt says he terrorised Scunthorpe. He did, he really did, and he scored against Scunthorpe as well at an important time. I really like him. I think he has a tendency, probably because of his age, to drift out of games. Like, I know it's not a big important game. Colville, awful, terrible, worst player on the pitch by a country mile. I mean, we were poor that day, but then what does that game really matter? And I think as well, like the legacy of that free kick, people don't want him shoot from distance, so it changes things, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
The next game we had at home, I can't remember who it was. He hits the bar with a free kick. It bounces down almost on the line and goes in again almost. So I'd extend it definitely. And you never know, if he had a massive second half of the season, go for a signing. A few people have said, and I've seen it on Twitter, that he's out of contract. M4, he's out of contract at the end of the year. Yeah, well, if he is and he does, improve a little bit more, then definitely go for it. He's young. Goal against Torquay was classed by him. Yeah. I think he slots in well. Like, you look at the attacking midfield options, you've got Austin that's just a workhorse, does everything. You've got Ruben that's the creator. You've got Castro that can score from outside the area and decent with the ball at his feet. Yeah, we've got great options in that attacking department. Midfield's so strong now. Ruben, Austin, Palmer, Bostock, Castro, Jim, even Francis I thought was excellent again first half.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's without Vinny as well, who's an older shot, and I don't think we'll see play for Notts ever again.
Yeah, he's been extended as well, hasn't he? So he won't be this season.
Yeah. James says, not sure Castro entirely fits Williams' system, but he's a useful option and has done some decent stuff. Yeah.
I think what you've just said sort of probably emphasizes why Williams likes him, because he brings something different, like you say, with the long shots. And we have seen him, more often than not take those long shots. And I think Williams wants him to do that to sort of attract the players to come out to him a little bit more, because he has got that accuracy. So, like you says, for me, it opens up spaces for the strikers that may be struggling to sort of, worm their way out of the man marking. But yeah,
Do you know what I love this season?
I think he does fit Williams' system fairly well.
I love this season that you can go to Scunthorpe and you can be stood in the pub before the game or driving to the ground and you look at the team and there's Jim O'Brien and Castro starting when no one expected it, and then they both go and get a goal and they both play well. Francis, didn't think Francis should start against Oldham and he's played a blinder. There's not one player now that I see on that team sheet starting that I think, oh no, not one. So
you do sort of feel like that though now, don't you?
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's one of them for me now. I don't really look at the team anymore. I obviously like look at it, but I don't scrutinize it as much as I maybe did previous seasons, because the decisions that Williams has made that so far have been pretty much spot on, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Charlie says, currently I'm a maybe about Castro. I believe there's better options. For example, Lemon Heavens at Stockport. Rumours is he's leaving on loan in Jan. He was amazing for Torquay. Killed us a few times. But I think he'd want to play almost every game if he's coming down. I don't think he'd be guaranteed that. I don't know how well he'd fit, to be fair. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I mean, I'd love him at Notts, but
because he was rumoured to be coming to Notts, wasn't he? Like multiple times.
Yeah, because he was at one of the games, wasn't he? Watching Kyle Cameron.
Yeah, and Grimsby. Like some of the players started following. Didn't he like follow Ian Birchall on Twitter or something like that?
I'm not sure. Not sure. I saw something else on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, so apologies for that. Someone spoke about where Cal Roberts would fit into this system and where he would play. You know what my answer would be? Nowhere. Trying to accommodate Cal Roberts into this system for me wouldn't have worked.
I disagree.
I disagree with you.
I don't know.
Where would you have ever played Cal Roberts? He was better coming off the wing.
Williams would have done something, mate. Williams 100% would have got Cal Roberts playing in the system.
To be fair, if you go through my tweets, I do tweet something like Williams has got Cal Roberts playing well. That Leicester game, I did say that.
There we go. I've undone you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have seen him play.
You don't think you'd have seen Cal Roberts play under Williams?
No, he'd be injured.
Oh dear, come off it.
His last game for Aberdeen was August. He's played like 40 minutes. Yeah, I'm not saying it's his fault. He wouldn't have played. No way would he have played. He's just so injury prone. I sat at the half time. What was it? Chorley game. Sat with Neil looking how many games he's played in the past 4 years. It's not a lot of games. I feel for him. But I don't think we would have seen him play many games. Let's put that out there. Right, George. Before we go with our team for Oldham, let's go with the final poll. We've gone through a lot of polls today. Go through the final one. But before we do that, I would just like to say thank you for everyone that supported us this year. We're heading into this is our final episode of the year before our videos continue into 2023. So if you're not already subscribed, please do. Just pop down below the video now, hit the subscribe button, because we're trying to get as many as we can by the end of the season. So yeah, we massively appreciate that. But thank you for your support. I know when I spoke to George about it, it made George cry, the level of support we've had this year. It's welling up again. Look, if you listen back on Spotify, George is wiping away tears, floods of tears.
Bits.
He's in bits. So George, what was the poll?
The poll is, who is your Notts player of 2022? What's up?
I'm just
you look agitated.
I'm gonna. Do you want to know what I voted?
Go on, tell me what you voted.
Well, no, you tell us the results first.
I'll tell you the results first then. Ruben Rodriguez, 23% of the vote. Matty Palmer, 35% of the vote. Macaulay Langstaff, 34% of the vote. And others say 8%. Now, the people that have voted over, if you're still in the chat, let us know who your player of the season is.
I think there might be
or your player of 2022 even.
I think there might be a few shots for Adam Chick with that other one.
Yeah, Chickson's been good. Yeah, I mean, for me, it can't be anyone other than Matty Palmer.
Fantastic player. Absolutely brilliant. Do you know what? Do you know what I voted for? And I've worn this just to show my support. You ready? Ruben. Got that Portugal. Nice. This is for Ruben. Got that Portugal top on. For me, Ruben Rodriguez is unbelievable. I looked at his stats since joining Notts. I don't think, and this season he's on 8 goals. That's kind of gone under the radar for me. Like last season as well, he got the. I know it ended in tears. We got the penalty. He scored the penalty against Grimsby. He was just. He's so good. I can't see it being anyone else other than Ruben for me. I mean, 20 goals last year. I know they weren't all in 2022. 8 goals this year, countless assists. I just think he's amazing.
Yeah.
I think Langstaff, I get why he's got so many votes. But for me, to even come third, because there's no one else coming third on that. Langstaff came second, didn't he, on that vote?
Yeah.
To even be mentioned in that top 3 from when you've only signed in this season is amazing. You're not going to get anyone else that's even on there.
Let's just say as well, Langstaff is in the top 5 goal scorers in the National League in 2022, and he's only been here since August.
Mad,
crazy. Yeah,
that is mad. I've gone Ruben because for me it was between Ruben and Matty, and I could have voted either, but I just think.
Yeah. I think with Langstaff as well, he's fantastic, technically brilliant. You're back in to score pretty much any time he's in the box or if he's one-on-one. But I do feel like the players around him provide him with such great opportunities. It makes his finishing and his life as a striker a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, I want to say something as well about Ruben. I don't think his work rate gets a lot of attention. He looks shattered at the end of almost every game, and it's not because he's unfit; it's because he does a lot of running around. And we mentioned it. I don't know if it was last week or something. We mentioned what the Dorking manager said, where he said he thought he could man Mark Ruben out the game, and when he saw him in person, he was like, "No way, no chance." Saying he's like a 9 or 10 out of 10 player. So, yeah, interesting one. That I'm guessing the others are for Chickson, possibly Kyle Cameron, maybe, but I think those others will be about Chickson. Right, George. We've had a good rest. It's not like the Championship where there's a game tonight or tomorrow and then another one just after. There's a good rest for us in the National League. So, what team are you going with? And are you just going to make it easy and say unchanged?
What, unchanged from
Boxing
the
Day?
With the sneaking suspicion that Langstaff's back. No, you know what? Unchanged. If Langstaff's back, get him on the bench.
Okay. I would not keep it. This is going to be the biggest difference we've probably had. I'm gonna go under the idea that Langstaff's back, and I'm gonna keep Slocum in, Chickson in, the back 3 in. I want to say a massive mention as well for Aidan Baldwin. I think he's been brilliant. We haven't even mentioned his name this episode. And then I'm going to go for Toby at right wing back. I'm then going to keep Matty Palmer in, obviously, and I'm going to take Ed Francis out, and I'm going to put Jim O'Brien in because this game is going to get tasty. Their fans are going to get on their back regardless of what, unless they're battering us, their fans are going to be on their back. So I'm going to put Jim in the middle, and then I'm going to go Ruben, Scott, and Langstaff. Really, really tough to drop Austin, but I think get firepower, get an early goal. I think we'll be all right. So Chris says saw job today and said he's been training and back in contention. Yeah, I think he comes straight in. So,
what about Bajrami?
I know. I was just going to say that we're not even mentioning Bajrami at the minute. Maybe Bajrami for job. I'm not sure. I just don't. Can you see the game getting quite? I can see it getting quite not nasty, but if we to get an early goal and the fans are on the back, players react.
Frustration,
yeah, and away from home when there's more of their fans, it could get pretty toxic if we do take that early lead.
Yeah,
and we've shown we can against Oldham. 3 minutes, 3 minutes 30 something seconds or. Yeah. So, yeah. There's something also telling me not to start Bostock with Palmer. I think they're quite similar.
They are, but I do like Matty Palmer playing a bit more advanced.
There you go. We've got the options there, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've got the options. It's going to be interesting. I'll be very surprised if it's unchanged. I think there'll be some tweaking. I do. Right, George. I'll let you go first for your score prediction. Like a late Christmas present from me.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I'm going to say 4-0. 4-0 Knots.
Wow.
Capitulation is the word on my mind.
Is it the end of David Unsworth as well?
Don't know. Probably not.
Who's scoring?
Could well be, though. Could well be. Who is scoring? That is a good question. It's a good question. I'm going to go Scott to get another 2. Cal Cameron. But please don't do that celebration again, please, sir.
Please don't.
Chickson.
Please don't do that, sir. I'm going for 3-1. 3-1. And I think we see Scott get a hat-trick. Well-deserved hat-trick. You know, people have teams they play well against. I'm predicting Scott's team is Oldham. And they're going to hate him. They're going to hate him. Let's see what we've got then. Callum, 5-0 Chickson hat-trick. Castro, 49-yard screaming a Rawlinson bullet header. I think the least likely thing on that is a Rawlinson header, to be honest, which says something, doesn't it, of how well we're playing this season. Mick says 5-0 Knots. Ian's gone for 3-1 Knots, same as me. He's gone Scott, Chickson and Ruben. Matt says Slocum 4 penalties, wins 7-0. Fair enough. We've got a 4-1, 2 for Scott, Austin and Chickson. Let's have a look. We've got Chris says 4-1 against, or 4-1 to Knots. Dale says 2-0. Macca times 2. It'd be good to get him scoring. Ellie says 4-0. I'll go for 2 more. Andrew says 5-1 Knots. Scott 2, Ruben 2 and Palmer. And then finally to finish off, we've got 2-0 to Knots, Scott and Austin. Again, George, very positive amongst the fans, aren't we? Very positive.
Yeah,
very positive.
It's going to be, though, isn't it? It's going to be. We're flying, aren't we, at the minute, really?
And I would say
5 wins from 5 in December from Luke Williams.
There you go. Is he? How many manager of the months he won? Is he 2?
I think it's 2. Yeah.
What I would say as well is, if my calculations are correct and I can read things properly, I think we play the day before Wrexham.
Yes.
Could put us 7 points clear. Which would be really, really interesting to see how they respond to that. They'll probably win and probably catch us up, but there we go. That rounds up the last Pavis perspective of 2022. As I've already said, thank you for everyone that has joined live or watched any of our videos this year. We massively appreciate it. I hope whatever you're doing for New Year's, you have a good time. Might see some of you down at Oldham. Be really great to have a chat there. As always, don't forget to like the video, comment anything else you think of afterwards, and most importantly, please subscribe to the channel because it helps us out a lot.